because that's always one of the first questions people ask you. They're like, how are you single? And I don't know. Actually, I do know, and I have a list. I'm 24 and I haven't been in a relationship yet. I've kind of strayed from this topic for a while, which is weird because it's the thing that like made me go viral in the first place, but the fact of it hasn't changed. And with Valentine's Day coming up, I just thought I would talk a little bit about my experience in case it helps somebody else out there feel a little bit less alone. I felt this a lot more prominently when I was like a little bit younger and life was feeling like it was falling apart. Maybe it's my frontal lobe that's starting to develop a little bit more. But yeah, I felt like really behind and that I like kind of missed my window of opportunity for sweet, innocent love that you see portrayed in the media, at least, between like teenagers and that like high school sweetheart type of love. Whereas like now the dating pool kind of has pee in it. It's terrible out here. Dating apps suck even more than before. Everybody's just like either like super settled and like they're gonna get married, or they're just like wanting to be casual. And it's like, I can't want to be casual because first of all, I can never be casual about anything. But second of all, I think it'd be easier to be casual if I knew it wasn't like these big milestones for me. Because it's just like, well, I've waited long enough. And so there's that. It's not something that bothers me a good 90% of the time, but the 10% of the time that it does,
Holy moly.
it is one of the worst feelings in the world. And it's just more frequent the closer it gets to Valentine's Day. Because it's like, a lot of times I can forget that I'm single. Can't really miss what you haven't had before. Well, actually, that's not really true, because I can still yearn. I've been reading Bell Hooks' Communion, The Female Search for Love. She said something that I really resonated with. A passion for love had to be kept secret, unstated. To speak one's longing was to risk shame. Those who did not know love suffered in silence, encouraged to act as though the workforce, careers, and money were more important than love. There was no space for women to speak our disappointment. We are afraid to talk about the absence of love. Our longing for love must be kept secret. To give voice to such longing is to be counted among the weak, the soft. That hit really hard because it's only human to want connection with somebody else, and it's not weird, but to say that out loud, it just sounds like you're desperate almost. Like, listen, me saying this is not like opening the door to just anybody. I've literally been single for 24 years now. At this point, I've waited. I'm not just gonna settle for whatever. I don't even think that my standards are too high. I'm not looking for perfection or like they have to check every single box. I'm not asking for anything that I don't bring to the table myself. I want to talk about why I didn't date, because that's always one of the first questions people ask you. They're like, how are you single? And I don't know. Actually, I do know, and I have a list, so let's get into it. First of all, I wasn't allowed to date until college. Truthfully, there wasn't anybody I would have wanted to date, but I think that lack of experience made me very nervous about how to like interpret someone liking me. What do I do when someone actually does like me? It made me very awkward, I think. And it was like it was very clear when I liked somebody, and I hated that because everybody else kind of knew how to conceal those feelings, play it off better, or at least it seemed like everybody did. And so I tell that to my parents, like, hey, you also are part of this. You didn't let me date. But they were like, what happened then to college? We didn't have a hand in that. I'm like, well, true, kind of. But yeah, just Asian immigrant parents who wanted me to focus on school and success. I also just hate getting that advice that it's like you could just focus on your career and focus on school or focus on yourself, blah, 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 blah. I can feel fulfilled in those areas and still yearn and still like desire for human connection. Because I didn't get a ton of romantic attention growing up, I think that it made me like hyper vigilant a little bit. Like if somebody showed me like a crumb of attention, I felt like I wanted to prove to myself that like, wait, actually I am romantically desirable, and like cling to it. Even if I didn't like that guy, like I would just like, oh my gosh, I need to make sure he likes me, because that to me was proving to myself that I was capable of being liked. Great, right? Worse, if I liked a guy, that made the stakes even higher, because also I just like rarely have crushes. And so because of that, it's like, oh my gosh, this is like my one and only opportunity, it feels like, because this is so rare. Like there is a guy who like meets the standards that I do have. He's like available and potentially interested in me back. What? I was more excited about the idea of a relationship and like this finally working out for me rather than seeing how we might actually be compatible. Long story short, it hasn't worked out, and it's kind of just gotten harder. So little of like dating is in my control. Honestly, it doesn't matter how much self-love and healing you do. That is all great, but romantic love isn't a reward for doing that work. It really is about luck. If you don't have opportunities to meet people, but like if that right person isn't there, you're kind of just out of luck. I do try to go out. I ask my friends all the time, do you know anybody who you'd recommend? Work, my jobs have been like almost all remote, and most people are like 10 years older than me-ish. Bruh, do I have to like move to New York or someplace with like a walkable city in order for me to like actually date? You can't force it, and it's just like, ugh, I hate that advice of like, it's gonna come when you least expect it. Ugh, it doesn't stop that feeling of wanting. There isn't really any advice anybody can give. Only thing you can really do is cry. Um, I value love so much and in so many other areas of my life. I'm very lucky to have very close friends and family and like self-love, but just because I have those things doesn't cure that desire for wanting someone else. It makes it easier to like lean on and have support, especially given how like romance centered our society is. It's always seen like romantic love is the pinnacle, which I don't agree with, but it's just like, I just want to experience all that life has to offer. And that's one of those things. What I'm asking for and wanting isn't too much. I know that love like that exists because I've seen it. I've literally seen the love that my friends experience, and it's so beautiful. I know people like me exist. I know people like my friends exist. That love is out there. I just haven't crossed paths with it yet. I'm not ashamed of the fact that I haven't been in a relationship. It's just weird because everyone's on such different timelines when it comes to dating and relationships. Like, I'm 24. I know people my age who like already have kids. They're already married. My mom was married at my age. Like, it's just hard to get over that like mental block of like, am I doing this right? How do I not show my inexperience so much? But the thing is, it's like somebody's experience doesn't necessarily translate to being a better partner. I talk about my own inexperience, but I know that the interpersonal skills that I've developed, communication, listening, and empathy, I'm going to be able to apply when it comes to a relationship. All this to say that if you are feeling sad about it, I hear you. No amount of advice can change that. It can't change the dating pool that is currently out there. You can't always change your physical location. That feeling of wanting and of desire, that isn't something that should be shamed. And that's why I really wanted to make this video. I really just wish for you that your waves of loneliness don't trick you into settling. If you want to get over it, like get it over with, good for you. But like, if you've lasted this long, why not wait, you know? Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Follow me on my Instagram. Talk to you next time. Happy Valentine's Day or whatever time it is where you're at, but thanks for watching. Bye.